time. Today we are going to show you all of the different instruments up close and personal, as well as how they group together into families of instruments. And we have the help of two amazing composers. One, a composer from Chicago, who is a real actual composer who does this full-time all year round. That is what he does. He composes for bands and orchestras. He's going to come and help you understand the piece that he wrote, which is our main piece for today. But we also have a person who seems to have come through a time machine, Mr. Mozart himself. So you'll be meeting him in a minute. Some of you already saw him. He was going around greeting you. I saw that. That is great. But because Mozart is here, we need to start with Mozart's greatest hit. So we're going to do the overture to The Marriage of Figaro, a great opera by Mozart. Woo!
welcome. I, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. I composed this overture in 1786. How many of you were alive for that period? That's a lot. You look wonderful for your age. My goodness. Well, thank you so much for showing up to this concert. We have another 3 hours of this piece, if you please. 3 hours. Stop. That is not the Marriage of Figaro.
Well, take your program.
My mistakes. Sorry, time travel side effects. Where are we? Neither do I. What do you know? Oh my God. No. Is this in Venice, Italy? No. All right, say it all at once. Where are we? This is what it sounded like. Thank you. Well, I think we should carry on with this production. We are not in Venice, Italy. We are here with the North State Symphony with Dr. Dwayne Corbin, introducing the colors of the symphony, where we're going to introduce each instrument and show you how our musicians make sound come out of them. We're going to turn those black and white notes on the page into color. So we have an actual composer here from your day. I think I need to go find him. Mr. Jim Stephenson, if you please.
Travel through time to get here. I'm actually alive now. How about that?
Saved a lot of gas that way.
I did, but Mr. Mozart, it's such a pleasure to meet you. I've been a fan of yours for so long.
Thank you.
So wonderful. Well, you know what? I have to confess something to you, though.
What's that?
I was supposed to write a symphony for you to hear, but I'm sure this has never happened to any of them. I didn't finish it.
You didn't finish it?
I didn't finish my homework.
Well, that's fine. I would just write my overtures the morning of the opera.
Well, you were a very special person, but I have an idea.
Yes.
We have all these wonderful musicians here with the North State Symphony on stage. Maybe we could use them to help write a symphony. As a matter of fact, the last little bit they played was a scale. Do you know what a scale is?
Of course, I would use them all the time.
Right, it's like you go up the stairs and you come down the stairs. Maestro, would you mind playing us that scale one more time? See how that works?
Yes.
They're so talented, I'm going to trick them. Ready? You think you can play that backwards?
Sure. 3, 4.
So they're talented and they're funny. That is fantastic. Well, I think we better get going on this piece. I really want you to hear my symphony. So maybe the woodwinds can help me.
Oh yes, they are a colorful group. Let's use them.
All right, well, the woodwinds are one of 4 families in our symphony orchestra, and they use only their air to produce a sound. They do this by blowing across a hole or by vibrating a reed. I want this piece to be really beautiful. Should we use some woodwinds to play a really beautiful melody? This is really beautiful, but I have an idea. I think we need this music to dance a little bit.
I think we can make them dance. I used to make them dance in my minuets and scherzos all the time.
All right. Well, let's see if the woodwinds can make you dance a little bit. Okay, mission accomplished. But now that we know what the woodwinds do, I want the music to be a bit louder. And I know that we have another family in the orchestra, the brass family, that can play nice and loud. They produce a sound by buzzing their lips into the mouthpiece, and they are well known for their kingly fanfares and rollicking hunting calls. But what if I want to include some jazz? The brass are well known for their jazz.
Man, what is this?
That's jazz. Wow, we've got Mozart fired up over here. Well, I'll tell you what, let me see if you can imitate that jazzy cymbal sound. Yeah, they didn't have that when you were alive. This is all new. All right, keep it going. Another couple of instruments we have in our orchestra, very unique, the harp and the percussion. I'm wondering if they can help me finish this piece. The harpist produces a sound by plucking the strings, and the percussionist either shakes, scrapes, or strikes a various assortment of instruments to produce a sound. The strings, we can't finish this piece without the strings. They are the largest family in the orchestra.
Of course not. They're my absolute favorite. And I heard that they love to play my music too. Isn't that right?
I'm sure they love my music though too, right?
Yeah. Well, what's wonderful about the strings is that they can play long phrases without having to take a breath while they do so.
Right, and they do this in 2 different ways. One way is called arco, where they draw the bow across the string to produce a sound. Listen to this, Mozart. Do you hear how the music just grows and grows? They do this all with their bow. Well, the second way that strings produce a sound is to pluck the strings, much like you just heard on the harp. Now this is an Italian word. You know Italian, don't you? This is called pizzicato. Okay, let's start digging into the orchestra a little bit since we've met all the families. I need a little bit more specific information for this piece. The smallest member of the string section is the violin. Like the other strings, the violin is made of wood and has 4 strings on it. And the bow is also made of wood, which is strung with horsehair. And we have a horse here.
String instruments have been around for centuries, even before my time, and have always looked just as they do now. The violin being the smallest and the highest sounding string instrument. Because it is easy to hear, it often gets to play the melody or the tune.
Well, and the viola is slightly bigger than the violin and therefore plays a little bit lower. Notice the different sound as the viola plays its own melody.
The cello uses an end pin on the bottom of it because it is too large to place under the chin.
Keep trying.
That's why all cellists sit down while playing. It sounds even lower than the viola.
And lastly, the double bass, which weighs nearly 35 pounds. Look how strong he is, 35 pounds, and he just puts it right out there. It is the granddaddy of all strings and, of course, plays the lowest notes of all.
I have a wild idea. I think we should put them all together.
Hold on, Mr. Mozart. I'm interested to see if they can do more. I'm wondering what each string player's left hand is doing as it moves up and down the instrument.
Everyone lift their left hand up. No, your other left. My goodness. Well, they're using their left hand to shorten or lengthen the strings to get a higher or lower note. Watch as they demonstrate lengthening and shortening their string.
Okay, I'm getting it, but do you mind if I watch just one more time? I want to listen as they use their bows or watch as they pluck the strings, but I'm also going to keep an eye on their left hands as they move them up and down the strings to change notes.
I think we've done it. We have our piece.
No. done yet. We're not done yet. We have to play. I mean, there's woodwinds back here. So there's the flute, the highest member of the woodwind family. Ruth produces a sound on the flute by blowing air across a hole in the mouthpiece, much the same as when you blow air across the top of a soda bottle.
Yes, well, these are young minds, so I think it's time to give them some history about this. The flute is one of the oldest instruments in the orchestra. The Chinese made a flute out of 5,000 years ago. Later around... Oh, sorry. Did you say you could produce a sound much like you would on an empty soda bottle?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. It's by blowing air across the hole in the mouthpiece.
Well, what a wonderful coincidence. The brass section and I drank some of that soda this morning. Don't drink soda in the morning, kids. It's really bad for you. But, wild idea, why don't we put together the empty soda bottles with the flute?
Wait, this could be part of our piece. I think that's a great idea. You guys want to try it? Okay, let's listen. Well, that was good, but there are more. So let's meet the oboe. The oboe is made of wood, but it's played much differently than the flute. And I think it might help us out quite nicely. Most
definitely. I liked it so much I featured the oboe in a solo concerto. Tell your parents concerto. I think you're just absolutely brilliant.
Concerto. Well, Jeff uses a double reed, which is two shaped pieces of wood strapped really tightly together. And when he blows air over the double reed, it vibrates and sounds like this.
Well, when Jeff places that reed back into the oboe, it creates a much more charming sound. One that you might use to charm a snake.
I think that's beautiful and indeed charming. Thank you for that. But you know what? This piece needs some fast notes, don't you think? And the clarinet is famous for being able to play a flurry of notes.
The clarinet has a single reed made from bamboo. The reed is held onto the mouthpiece by a metal band, which is called a ligature. When air passes over the reed, it vibrates and produces the enchanting sound of the clarinet.
Well, and the bassoon is a double reed instrument like the oboe, and it is the lowest.
That doesn't sound low.
The lowest member of the woodwind family. Excuse me. I said you're the lowest member of the woodwind family. Thank you very much. We need those low notes. That was lovely. Okay, well. the woodwinds used all of their fingers to play all of the keys on their instruments. As a matter of fact, she plays 9 keys with just 1 thumb on her bassoon.
9 thumbs with 1 key?
9 thumbs with 1 toe. No, key. Never mind. 9 keys with 1. The bassoon can play very lyrical melodies, or it can bounce around and sound somewhat silly, too.
That was silly. Now let's listen as the rest of the woodwinds join in with the bassoon. Pay attention to their fingers and their keys and how they blow across their instruments to produce the sound.
Forgotten about the trumpet. It's my favorite instrument. Thanks for the reminder, Mr. Trumpet. All right. Well, our piece needs some brass because the brass is loud and very well known for that, of course. And that's why years ago, and still today, they were used for battle and for kings and queens and many ceremonies.
I use brass, but not nearly like that.
Well, that's because in the last 150 years, after your time, brass instruments developed valves, which allows them to play many different notes and sometimes very quickly. I think I could use that in our new piece. That was cool.
Well, it was cool, but I'm looking for a brass instrument that's a bit higher. One, like the flute or the violin.
Well, we wouldn't want to disappoint you, Mr. Mozart, so we have a higher trumpet. It's called a Piccolo Trumpet. It's small, like it was in the dryer too long. Yeah, that's the one. You know what a dryer is?
No, but
okay, well, it has 4 valves instead of the usual 3. So let's listen for that higher, brighter sound of the Piccolo Trumpet. Briar says it's so much fun, it's almost like a toy.
Wow! I love toys. Don't you love toys? Oh, all you iPads out there, my goodness. Well, you know what? My teacher, Joseph Haydn, actually once wrote a piece, a toy symphony. I loved it so much. But what else do we have?
Well, we have what's called the French horn, which is a very unique brass instrument.
French horn.
First of all, its tubing is all coiled up, much like a garden hose.
A what?
A garden hose, you know.
No.
Well, secondly, it is the only instrument where the player always keeps their hand inside the bell.
Yes, but what's a garden hose?
Never mind that. She does this to make a pretty sound and to also hold the horn. But listen to what happens when she jams her hand too far inside the bell.
That was pretty.
Wasn't that pretty?
What?
Don't you wish you'd use that one?
I wish I had known about that one.
Well, stick around. The French horn is neither the highest nor lowest instrument in the brass family. It often gets to play pretty melodies, or sometimes makes that muted sound you just heard.
I loved the French horn so much that I wrote 4 concertos for it. I would often use hunting calls in my pieces. Do you have any hunting calls in your piece?
Well, Wolfgang, you'll just have to wait and find out. About the trombone, it's a very unique brass instrument. It does not use valves, but uses a slide instead to change its notes. It can also make a lot of funny noises, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. But first we have the most common, which you just heard. This is called the glissando. Or, it can sound like a motorcycle. A motorcycle, duh, a motorcycle.
Well, Mr. Trombonist, I don't think you could be an elephant. Well, I bet you can't laugh.
Sounds like he can do it. He's like, I'm going to fool him. He can't do this one. Can you make it sound like a vacuum cleaner?
Well, I have no idea what a vacuum cleaner is, but I was floored by that sound. But let's face it, our symphony is going to need melody. Can the trombone play some melody?
You think you can play a melody?
Of course.
How about a princely tune for our Mr. Mozart? Wow, well, you know what? Vacuum cleaners, motorcycles, you can do it all. But the biggest and boldest instrument in our brass section is the tuba. I think we should include the tuba in our symphony, don't you?
That instrument wasn't even around when I was composing.
Well, it is now, and because it is the biggest, it is, of course, the lowest. But our tuba player, Nathan, I was talking to him backstage, and he said, you know what, Jim? I think I'm feeling extra special today. I think I can play just as high as the trumpet, is what he said.
Ooh. I think we should have a challenge.
Should we have a challenge? The trumpet, my favorite, of course, plays the highest. But you know what? The French horn player, she said to me, Jim, you know what? I think I can play as low as the tuba. What do you think? Should we have them have a challenge as well? Sit down. Our winner is the tuba. Nathan plays the lowest. Well, the tuba, Mr. Mozart, I know you don't know much about the tuba, but it's very famous for a melody that sounds like this.
Wait. Hold the phone with all those fancy valves and tubes.
You know what a phone is?
Well, now, yes. Now I do. Boy, I bet you can play way more than a melody, Nathan.
How about I just try a melody? What do you think?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, but this is the last time, okay? Take a big breath. For our symphony. I think we're getting close, but you know what? We've met the brass family, but we haven't even told you how they get a sound. Do you know?
Well, I noticed how much air it takes to produce sound from the tuba, but you see they do buzz their lips to make sound.
Yes, that's it. This is the vibration that produces the sound that comes out of the bell. Now, since you're our special guest, we have a special treat for you. We mentioned earlier that the French horn is a lot like a curled up garden hose. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Well, the brass players are now going to play a piece for you on their garden hoses. All for you.
That's how brass instruments sounded back in my time.
Well, next time you see brass players playing hoses, you can say, "What are you doing?" So, anyway, Mr. Amadeus, have we told you anything about the harp? Do you know about the harp?
Sure, a little bit, yes.
Well, the harp has long been considered one of the most beautiful and angelic instruments of the orchestra. So we have to include it in our symphony. With its 47 strings, it can cover the entire spectrum from low to high notes. It's most famous for its wild glissando. Pretty cool, huh? The harp gets a sound much the same as that Italian word for strings, pizzicato. Yes, you got it. But Candace uses 8 fingers and plucks the strings with just her fingertips.
But that's only half of it. If you look down at the bottom of the harp, Candace has 7 pedals she has to use. And she uses it with her feet to change the pitch of the harp.
Wow, she is busy over there. Wow, so we better use her. So let's pay attention to the hands and feet of our harpist Candace as she demonstrates the beautiful harp.
But you know, we're missing something. We've had dancing woodwinds and brass fanfares and beautiful harp playing. But I feel like we're missing something. I just can't quite put a beat on it.
Wait, that's it. You nailed it. This piece needs a beat. That's exactly what we need. And we have the fourth family of our orchestra, the percussion family. So now we can add a beat to my symphony, as we mentioned a while ago. There are 3 different ways of producing a sound on a percussion instrument. So, using a tambourine, Paul will now demonstrate those. Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. I didn't even see what you did. You are talented. So, let's slow that down for everybody to see as you demonstrate the scrape. How about a shake? And a strike. So those are the 3 different ways you use to play all these percussion instruments. Now, wait a minute, Paul. You play all these? How many do you have there? 20-ish? What should we do?
I think we should have him feature them, and we'll count how many he actually has.
All right.
That sounds-
Will you help us count?
Let's
So
do it.
listen with your ears and count how many different instruments he plays. That's 1.
My goodness, I think that's everything.
Well, I think, how many did we get? 19? Is that right?
200.
How many, Paul? Yeah. 19. But I played 1, right? You saw me? No, you didn't see me? And it was the best, right? No. It's really simple to play that instrument. So, I want to thank you all. Now we have the entire orchestra. I think we should put it all together and play a symphony.
Let's put it together.
All right. And your woodwinds. There's the oboe. And the horn. Cellos.
From 1780 and Jim's piece from your own lifetime. It's amazing to see how many different composers use these instruments to create their sound. But, you know, The last component that we didn't mention was you, the audience. Without you, we wouldn't be able to be up here and perform for you. So thank you for being such a wonderful audience this day. Thank you. So yes, this one is for you. Before you go, I want to say, if you have not already been in an orchestra, or choir, or band, please get in there right now, because one day we hope to see you up here playing with us and sharing for the next generation of musicians. And ladies and gentlemen, Dwayne Corbin and the North State Symphony.